Well, President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced a range of measures to try to fix Eskom and stave off further high levels of load shedding in the future. South Africans were recently subjected to a stage 6 load shedding amid an unprotected strike by Eskom. The president says skilled personnel are being sourced locally and from abroad, including former Eskom staff. The president also says additional generation capacity will also be urgently procured in the next 3 months from plants with access of capacity. There will also be procurement of additional electricity from independent power producers as well as countries such as Botswana and Zambia that have surplus power. He also encouraged households to look into roof solar power as an alternative of power supply. Let's take this discussion further then. We are now joined via Zoom by Thandile Chinyavanhu from Greenpeace Africa. She is a climate and energy campaigner. Very good afternoon to you, Thandile. We appreciate your time here on SABC News once again.
Good afternoon, Flo, and thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome. As Greenpeace, how do you view these recent statements that have been made by the president to deal with our energy and obviously Eskom crisis in the country?
Well, in the immediate, we're quite relieved that a number of the issues that we've been campaigning for a number of years, including the feed-in tariffs as well as removing the arbitrary thresholds for renewable energy generation, have been removed. We're glad that they can move forward with those advancements, but there are, of course, still concerns that some of the other feedstocks which feature in the plan, such as oil and gas, may potentially take us off track of our commitments as a part of the Paris Agreement. So that's always a concern for us. Let's
talk about the Paris Agreement then, and these suggestions of oil and gas, and your concerns there that it would take us a step back on the gains that we possibly have made. And perhaps we should have that discussion. I mean, have we actually made any gains when it comes to the Paris Agreement?
Well, South Africa's action in terms of our commitments as a part of the Paris Agreement are still in their infancy. In terms of the commitments that we've put forward as a part of our nationally determined contributions, they're still considered insufficient, and we need to see our government putting forward more ambitious commitments. But as well as the fact that in terms of their action, when we weigh up our action against the commitments that we've put forward, we haven't really matched up in terms of what we have in terms of what we've committed that we would do. And one of the things that we continue to see is that our government continues to favor these gas-intensive or fossil fuel-intensive projects. And that is one of the concerns with this emergency plan, is that it makes an inclusion of removing red tape that may potentially, in their words, slow down the progress of being able to bring electricity onto the grid, and in not so many words, that usually entails removing environmental regulations. And so this could possibly be an opportunity for them to push forward projects like Power that could potentially have devastating impacts on the environment and climate.
Yeah, when you talk about wanting to see more ambitious commitments to the Paris Agreement, let's talk about those ambitious agreements. I mean, as a start, where would you like really the government of South Africa to start?
Well, in terms of the analysis that Greenpeace Africa did, looking at the nationally determined contributions and where they actually need to be in order for us to be aligned with that agreement, we need to see a reduction in our annual emissions with an upper boundary of 288 metric tons of carbon dioxide annually. And right now, we're not seeing that progress. In order to actually capitalize on our emission reduction potential, we need to see a lot more renewable energy being brought onto the grid. Right now, the renewable energy components that have been featured in our integrated resource plan allow for emission reductions of about 84 metric tons per annum. But we haven't even been able to exploit that because as of now, the renewable energy that's been envisioned in our IRP isn't even online. So if our government can just meet our IRP requirements and as well exploit further the potential of renewable energy to reduce our emissions, we could potentially start to see some gains of those commitments.
Yeah, I just want to get your opinion, or rather Greenpeace's opinion, rather than there's been a lot of talk now, and I suppose because of the problems we've encountered, with load shedding, particularly now in this winter season, we're really sort of looking into everything. And as you're talking, we're talking about alternative energy, and of course the talk about roof solar power as an alternative source of power supply. I'm assuming you would think that's quite a better option then.
Definitely. Solar panels, wind power, we've been seeing there are projects that are in the pipeline to enable access to those renewable energy sources, but we definitely need to see us exploiting the potential of these renewable energy resources to not only stabilize our energy system, but also meet our climate objectives as well.
All right, Thandile, we appreciate your time here on SABC News.